Are you looking to start a YouTube channel and do it by vlogging but don't know where to start? Well, in this interview of the VI show, I'll be talking with Jeven Dovey, travel vlogger turned YouTube expert, on how he has become a successful creator on YouTube by vlogging and teaching others to crush it on this platform. You know, vlogging can come in many different forms and there's really no rules to it. However, when you first get started, there's some guiding principles and some tips that we want to share with you to help you get views. So, in this interview, we'll be talking about tips, tricks, and advice to help you get more views on your vlogs coming up.
This video is brought to you by vidIQ, the #1 Chrome extension for YouTubers looking for on-point data analysis, research resources, and enhanced video creator tools. Start getting more views in less time today by signing up for free at vidiq.com/influence. That's vidiq.com/influence.
That's right, influencers. Welcome to Video Influencers. And this is a VI show, and we're talking with Jeven Dovey. Jeven, what's going on, man?
Hey man, thanks for having me, and this is going to be fun. Let's talk about vlogging.
That's right. And we're talking about how Jeven started a vlogging channel, turned into a YouTube expert. And I know so much more. And, you know, that's not a title I put on you lightly. It's something that I know it takes a lot of work to get that title. But again, there's so much more to you. And we're going to be diving into that. Any quick thoughts when it comes to vlogging before I introduce you to our audience?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one big thing to think about when it comes to vlogging is not the way, or vlogging is not what you're shooting. It's a style in which you shoot. And so the reason we want to talk about vlogging is that there's so many different ways that you can use vlogging, and no matter in any niche that you're in.
Absolutely. And obviously, if you're watching this, you want to start a vlogging channel, but maybe you don't know how. And so we're going to be talking about how to actually get views, because there's definitely a lot of people vlogging out there, but they're not getting traction for one reason or the other. And this is why we've got Jeven on here. And let me tell you a little bit about him. So Jeven, he helps creators learn skills to find success with online videos through weekly tutorials and reviews about filmmaking, camera gear, and how to master YouTube. He's helping you crush it on this platform. 465,000 subscribers, almost 30 million plus views. He's one of my favorite experts that I actually watch, and he's got a ton of content, and I'm excited to dive into vlogging and what it takes to get these views. So, Jeven, thank you so much to be here. And let's dive right into how you got started and where you're at today and what it took to get the views on your vlogs.
Yeah, so it's been a long process. I mean, it's not super long. It's been about 4 years from when I started this channel. And I think a lot of people don't realize is I've had multiple channels over the years. So I've been doing YouTube for probably 9 years-ish. But the first couple channels that I had, I was really just putting videos up for fun. Like, I didn't really think I was going to do anything more with YouTube than just like have somewhere to post like some fun B-roll I put together. That was like my first channel. My second channel was for my production company. Did some fitness stuff, and you know, it was nothing like really that specific or that kind of dialed in. And then this channel came about, which actually started completely different than just Jeven Dovey. It was a channel called Wanderworks, which my wife and I decided we were going to be travel vloggers. And this was about 4 years ago. Our company had started getting some attention, so we had started having some more free time. We didn't have to put all of our time into our company, and we're like, all right, we're going to use all of our free time and we're going to travel, and I'm going to film it. So that first year of like going into YouTube and really like putting my mind into like, I want to be a YouTuber, was all geared around travel vlogging. So I did about 200 videos in that first year. So there was a different stretches where it was daily vlogging, and then there were stretches where, you know, I would do a few days in between. But for the course of a year, 200 videos, that's, you know, a video every 2-3 days, 1 day sometimes.
Crazy.
So yeah, it was a lot. And
you put in the work, you hustled, and you invested. And I think a lot of people, they discount all that work it takes in the beginning. Even Casey Neistat, who is one of the vloggers that I know I look up to, both Sean was the one that actually introduced me to him, but he had a whole history of creating content way before he became the Casey Neistat.
Way
And
before.
so thank you so much for sharing your story. But what are a couple things that actually helped you actually get views? Because, you know, it's one thing to upload a vlog, and especially if you do it 100 times, but if you're not getting views, you can get easily burnt out and quit. So getting views is super important, even though we tried to tell people don't worry about them at the beginning. But eventually, let's be real, we want to get that attention. We want to build our influence. And there's a couple key strategies. What were some of the guiding principles for you to help you gain traction and get views on your vlogs in that first year of daily vlogging?
Well, yeah, then that's one of those things. Like the first year, I really didn't get a whole lot of attention. Like I had under 1,000 subscribers for that entire first year. I think I was at like 500 maybe. But you know, and I just want to touch on this. You said it, but you need to come from like a standpoint of doing this because you love doing this and because you want to just have this creative freedom to shoot whatever you want. If you approach it just trying to you know, get views, subscribers, money, like you're gonna fail because you start thinking too much of data and analytics and all this, whereas you really need to get into that creative mindset. But for me, what I saw in that first year, there was a few videos that took off, and it was all based around search. And so I did a trip to Thailand, and I did 12 videos in that trip, something like that. But I had a couple that really took off, and it was because I targeted search specific terms. And so when I saw that happen in my travel vlogs, after that first year of just creating constant content, I started diving into my other passion, which is filmmaking. And so I really I went after shooting videos around the DJI Mavic Pro. That was the first kind of big drone. I had a bunch of drones before that, like the Phantom 2 Pro and all those, but the first kind of big drone that I did videos around was the Mavic Pro. And I had one of the first drones. Like I pre-ordered it immediately. It came to my house before everyone on YouTube. This was before the days where companies would just send out products to influencers. Like I was the first one to like just hit that pre-order button. And so because it was new and because it's a very searchable term, because that drone was a pretty massive thing in the industry, I saw that those videos just took my channel and like skyrocketed it. So that's when I realized that search-based traffic was so powerful in getting those views and new people into your channel.
Yeah, and if you guys doubt the power of search, let me just show you how powerful it really is. So I'm going to go to my YouTube page here and show you. I'm going to type in how to vlog, okay? And look what shows up first. Jeven's channel, his video, how to vlog. Second, Casey Neistat. Third, Peter McKinnon. Now that is pretty crazy, and it shows you the power of search. And don't get me wrong, I think Jeven's content is amazing, and I love watching his channel. However, to rank above these two people who are looked at as some of the best in our platform and are really crushing it is something to be proud of. However, it's something that Jeven has done well, not only for a search term like how to vlog, but for many, including the drone. And so this is why we want to talk about this first before anything, because you know, your YouTube videos, your vlogs can get ranked and get exposure to new audiences. But most people, they just think I'm going to vlog my normal casual day. So there's some key principles, some strategies that we're going to be talking about. Anything else that worked for you or any comments you want to make on that? Because that's really powerful, Jeven, that you're literally outranking some of these OGs of vlogging.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to search-based traffic, you really just have to find those keywords that people are looking for, but there's not a lot of people creating content around. And it's interesting because when you start diving more and more into search, you'll find that there are specific key terms that get a ton of traffic, but nobody's specifically putting those words in the right order and putting it at like the front of the title, which is one of those tactics to really, you know, boost your videos in search. And so if you can find those topics that fit within your niche, I mean, we got to always go back to, you have to shoot within your niche, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but if you can find those search terms that people are looking for, but there's not a ton of videos or people aren't specifically titling or targeting those keywords, then that's a huge opportunity. And I've found that multiple times on my channel, and those videos that I've really found those pockets, those little golden nuggets, those videos are some of my best performing videos to this day, and they keep driving my subscribers. There's one video that I did on like the mistakes new YouTubers make, and there wasn't a whole lot of people doing videos in that category. And that video alone, it's up to like 800,000 or 900,000 views, but it's brought in over 20,000 new subscribers to my channel. So the power of search is pretty impressive.
Absolutely. And so in addition to that, there's one other aspect of YouTube that a lot of people, I think, tend to forget about, or maybe don't acknowledge. They don't even know. But do you realize when you first go on your phone and you pull up your YouTube app, the first window that is shown is suggested? And this is a place where you can probably get even more exposure than you even realize. And obviously, a lot of it has to do with ranking and search-based results. However, talk about how suggested has helped you, because I know that was one other part of your journey that helped you get more exposure to more people to ultimately get views and subscribers for your channel.
Yeah, so search is a great way to kind of start the whole process and get views and people into your channel, but the suggested is where you're really going to just explode. And the reason is like 75% of all views on YouTube, somewhere around there, are coming from suggested. That means YouTube is suggesting that content to similar audiences. So what you want to do is get your videos to pop up in those suggested. And the key is creating like data relationships between your videos. And we can dive a little bit more into this, but it's creating things like videos that are in sequence or videos that are grouped together in playlists, videos that have similar titling structure, similar content structure, so that when a person goes from one video to the next, they kind of get the sense that it's a series and they want to keep watching. So suggested is super powerful, and I've built my channel off of search. That is like my kind of where I was able to get my foothold in YouTube. And now I'm starting to transition and really focus on suggested, because suggested can take a video that's getting 20,000 views and skyrocket it to hundreds of thousands. And I saw that happen with one of my videos recently. Like 5 months later, it took off, and now it's at like 200,000 or 300,000 views, whereas it was originally at like 20,000, just kind of cruising on search.
Yeah, and I want to show you guys what he's talking about. So if you go to Jeven's channel here, you can see he's got a lot of videos. In fact, I'm just going to his video library, and there's a ton, right? If I just keep scrolling, it's just
I think I've
keeps
uploaded
going.
560 videos so far.
It's pretty it's pretty crazy. But let's go to playlists, and this is what Jeven is talking about. When you can have videos that are similar in content. In fact, look, how to fly a drone. There's 10 videos. So YouTube, over here to the right, YouTube knows that these videos are similar. One, because he put them in this playlist, but also they all have the same search terms. DJI, there's probably drone in the tags. He probably talks about it. And so the point I want to make here is this is why it's really important to have a lot of content. So in the beginning, when we're talking about, we're actually talking about, what do you call it? Creating a library of videos is not just simply for the sake of having videos out there in practice, even though that's important, but you never know when one of your videos will hit. And YouTube is going to continue to suggest your videos if they see that one of your videos are appealing to this viewership based on search. And so this is why suggested is so important, because somebody might see one of Jeven's drone videos, right, and watch almost all of it because it's so good. It's dope. So next time they go into YouTube on the suggested page, they might actually push the next drone video in the playlist, or another one of his high ranking or high audience retention drone videos to that person. And this is why you want to have a video library ready to go, because you never know. Or follow up a popular upload with another one related to that. Anything you want to add there, because there's a lot you can unpack. But suggested, I do also agree, is probably just as important as ranking a video for search.
Yeah, like one topic that really I've seen this the power of suggestion is just the idea of how to vlog. So that one video that you showed, that video is ranking very well in search. However, I've done multiple videos with the same titling structure, how to vlog, and it's the same style of content, but in a different way. So I did one on how to vlog with a smartphone, how to vlog without any fear. And those videos, because they are similar topics and there's similar structure in terms of like how I produced them, they are getting recommended after people watch that how to vlog video, which is ranking well in search. Now those people, when they come back onto YouTube, they're getting suggested my other videos, how to vlog. And, those other videos are really starting to take off. And so, the whole idea of search is just part of the picture. And you need to also think about suggested. So how are your viewers going to go through this journey of YouTube? And you really want to get into that suggested. You don't want to always focus on search. And I think that's one thing that, a lot of creators get stuck in this world of search. And I kind of want to debunk that a little bit. It's not all about search.
Totally. And thank you so much. I'm actually going here to show people what you're talking about. So number one, I typed it in again, and maybe because I clicked on the video, Casey's next, and then your video's third, how to vlog with a phone. Again, talking about that string of vlog related content. If I click on it, let's go over here to the right. A lot more of your videos are being suggested. In fact, look, 4 of yours before 1 of Sean's, right? And all these aren't even all vlog related. Of course, interesting enough, they're showing your how to vlog video again. Maybe I didn't watch it long enough. They're like, hey, come back. There's more here for you. But look, there's even more content. So I'd say in addition to the fact that you're putting up content that is related to vlogging, it's all the videos that are related to vlogging generally, like how to make money once you are a vlogger and you've got an influence. And so don't just stop there. This is the kind of math that I use, or the percentage, is you probably want 80% focused content on a niche or whatever, and then 20% kind of related to it, whether it's a sub niche or it's complementary. So you talk about how to make money with YouTube videos. Of course, if you become a vlogger, a lot of us would like to do this full time. So you need to pay the bills. You need to create an income. So that makes sense. Before we dive into those 5 tips, anything else you want to mention in relation to that, or maybe even talk about some of the mistakes you've made when you first started vlogging?
Yeah, I mean, I like what you're saying with the 80-20. That's a good way to approach it, because, just what I was saying in terms of creating videos for YouTube, you need to create these data relationships. You need to think through the whole process of your viewers. So, where are they starting and where are they going to go? So it's, if someone learns to vlog off of my channel, that's not the only thing that they need to learn is, how to walk around with their camera and, shoot content in that style, but also like, how do you make money off of it? How do you, if you want to dive further into creating better cinematic B-roll, how do you do that? How do you work on sound? How do you do lighting? Like, there's all these different things that you can start diving into when you've brought someone into your channel for one topic. So you want to, you need to know your audience. I mean, that's the key to being successful on YouTube, is knowing who that person is on the other side of the camera. And until you can figure that out, you're going to kind of struggle, because you're going to shoot videos and they might not hit right. But once you can figure out who your audience is and who that individual is, then you know exactly what to shoot for them. You're like, okay, this person is interested in vlogging. Well, I need to shoot X, Y, and Z, because these are also parts of the process to make sure that vlogging, you get your channel growing, seen, done, and all of that. But yeah, I mean, I didn't learn all this when I started my YouTube journey. I've made tons of mistakes, and that's actually a trend of videos that I've been producing on my channel, which is mistakes YouTubers make. I'm working on a new one right now, which it's over 30 minutes long. I'm not sure if I'm going to cut it into 2 videos yet, but it's a long one where it's a cool series, because what I do is I interview people, different channels, and everyone's made different mistakes. Like, it's insane. When I put out when I ask all my friends and I ask all these YouTubers, no one is ever really overlapping. Like, it's crazy how many different mistakes people have made, because everyone's journey is so different. So it could be a camera thing. It could be, a way in which you titled your video. It could be a thumbnail. Like, there's so many different things that could go wrong. And I think, one of the things that we need to remember as creators is to embrace the imperfection, because we are never going to be perfect. It's never going to be like, this is exactly what I need to do. Like you're never going to be completely right with everything. You're going to fail here and there. Like I've been failing a lot recently, and for my viewers that have been on my channel, there's been a few videos where I've been trying to, figure out my trajectory moving forward. Like I've been lost the last few months in terms of like where I want to go. So you're not alone if you're kind of lost in this whole YouTube space, because I've also been struggling myself. And it took me taking a step back and really thinking through my audience and really thinking through my channel to pivot and actually have a new direction of where I'm going. So
Yeah,
no
I
matter
think
what size channel you are, there's never a right moment, for something to happen.
yeah, and taking risks is such a big part of the YouTube experience if you want to have major success, because you've got to be doing
Yeah.
something different. And so this is why I love watching other people's mistake videos, because I want to avoid them. And I'm sure a lot of you also want to avoid those too. We're talking about how to get views on your vlogs today. We'll be talking about 5 tips. However, if you can avoid, maybe an embarrassing moment or, failure, definitely it's something that a lot of people can relate to. A couple mistakes I've made in the past is trying to do what other people are doing and not realizing there's a reason they're doing it that way. For example, one of the biggest mistakes is doing exactly what someone like Casey Neistat does in terms of titling the video or the thumbnail. Realized he already had an audience before he started daily vlogging. So the rules are different that apply to him than you who's just starting out. And so that's why we're going to be talking about the 5 tips from Jeven on what to do to actually get views. Another quick mistake is I used to do this, and I definitely don't do this anymore. It's a more practical thing, but looking at the viewfinder, right? Looking at the viewfinder before looking at the, rather than looking at the lens. It's kind of like that. Look right now. So I'm kind of looking at my screen. It's kind of near my lens, but it's so impersonal versus looking right at the vlog camera. So this can be a mistake that's so easily done, even with the camera, where the viewfinder or the LCD screen is really close to the lens, but people notice it. So there's so many different mistakes. So I'm excited to get into your 5 tips, Jeven. But anything else you want to add before we take a quick break, in terms of making mistakes and the importance of them? Obviously, you just shared, like you even to this day still make mistakes, just like as well as I do and so many other creators. But a lot of people, for whatever reason, they feel uncomfortable to do that or to risk that failure.
Yeah. I'd say like one of my biggest mistakes is just thinking that you can turn on the camera and just everything's going to come out and you're just going to wing it. You really need to put some structure behind your videos and really plan out your videos. And there's been so many pieces of content that I've produced on my channel where I just tried to wing it. And I have a video that I never released. It's a 2-week trip that I did down in Ecuador. I climbed 3 of the tallest peaks in Ecuador. I have all of this footage, but I had no planning put together of like what I'm going to do with this footage. So I have tons of B-roll and I have all these moments, but nothing really comes together to tell a story. And so I've been sitting on this footage and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Because I didn't approach it in the right way. I didn't have a structure. I didn't have any sort of thought going into it. I was like, I'm going to just shoot this footage and it's going to become a cool video. And it ended up, not coming together at all. So definitely my biggest mistake, or something I still do, is not having structure and, making sure that, I just need to remind myself to put a lot of thought on the front end and actually plan out videos.
Oh boy, I have so many of those videos that I thought was going to be amazing. It sometimes even gets to the editing and never gets uploaded. So once in a while that happens, you guys. And if you can relate, let us know. But before we dive into the 5 tips on how to get views on your vlogs, and further do some Q&A at the end, make sure you stay tuned for that. We're going to take a quick break. If you're just starting YouTube, make sure you pick up a copy of YouTube Secrets. This is going to help you crush it here on this platform, and figure out how to start a YouTube channel. So go to tubesecretsbook.com, but do not take my word for it. Let's hear from some other people about why they think YouTube Secrets is amazing, and then we'll get into our 5 tips.
Probably the ones who have helped me most in terms of just technically how to create videos that are engaging and how to utilize a lot of the mechanics of YouTube is Sean and Benji from Video Influencers. They just came out with a book recently called YouTube Secrets.
I mean, they take this all the way from if you're just brand new and trying to think of ideas for your channel, all the way through it to advanced strategies. And
they both have a lot of value to add to help us influencers and YouTubers really start to build amazing and big audiences and get more views and get more subscribers.
Guys, buy the book, I promise. If you're doing YouTube Secrets, I mean it.
Did you know that right now there are tens of thousands of people generating over $100,000 per year using YouTube? That means if you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, social media influencer, or you lead a nonprofit, YouTube is one of the best places to reach more people, generate more income, and build a powerful brand right now.
They talked about some of the key things that I think are essential for anyone that is trying to grow their channel, grow their business. This book is just perfect for that.
And I like to call this book the YouTube Bible because everything you need to know about YouTube is inside of this book.
And finally, there is a step-by-step playbook for success. YouTube Secrets, the brand new #1 best-selling book from online video experts Benji Travis and Sean Cannell. Drawing on 2 decades of industry experience and over 100 interviews with today's top YouTube influencers, you'll learn the proven best practices and latest viral strategies for building an influential and profitable presence on YouTube.
The #1 reason why you should read this book is because you can trust Sean and Benji. They're honest, have integrity, which I think is rare in YouTube.
Considering they have a combined 2 million subscribers, they built 2 7-figure brands, and on top of that they have a combined 20 years of experience making video. So to that end, you really get the impression that everything that they're telling you is really steeped in proven success and not the result of wishful thinking or just theory.
The ebook, paperback, and audio version are out now at tubesecretsbook.com. YouTube Secrets, the ultimate guide to growing your following and making money as a video influencer.
Should you buy it? Yes.
All right. So we're going to be talking about the 5 tips from Jeven on how to actually get views on your vlogs, and these are some guiding principles. And tip #1 is stay on topic. So a lot of times people are just vlogging whatever, they're them brushing their teeth, going out to run errands, like just talking about everything in their life, and they see, and again, this goes back to what I was saying before, they see other people doing this. When you're first starting, it is really important to stay on topic. Why is this important, and how do people do this specifically, Jeven?
Yeah, I mean, so everyone's channel needs to be put into like a niche. And I'm sure you've heard this over and over and over, but you need to have like a topic that you're approaching. So like for me, my channel is I'm creating content for the creator. So I'm going through the creative process. And so I'm not going to put like a cooking video on my channel. And, if I'm vlogging, I wouldn't include like these random segments from, me and my daughter, me doing something that is completely related to the creative process. Like there might be moments that you can put in to your videos to make them more engaging and make them more personal. And that's kind of something you have to always remember, is that you want to be honest about who you are and, put yourself out there on camera, because people will really connect to you as a creator. But you can't go so far off topic that like you're going to create a video about a cooking show when your channel is about, filmmaking. Like it just doesn't work like that. So keeping on topic is like super important. And when you can hone in your niche, and this is why I said this earlier, when you can really hone in your niche and you can really hone in who your audience is, then the content will be easy to create because you know what your audience would want to see.
Yeah, and again, I'm just using Casey Neistat as a example because, of course, a lot of people know who he is, and he gets away with a lot of things that go against what we're talking about. But that's because he built an audience. But when he first started, he was doing specific things. He was talking about cameras, or he was talking about current events. So I remember one of his big videos is the black market of the iPhone, or he'll talk about New York City and how you can't bike around town on the bike lane because cars are parked on it. And they're not like regulating on it. So it was very news topical, and that was the focus before he got into vlog whatever he wants. And even then, he vlogged from the perspective of someone creating cinematic type of content from a videographer point of view. So whatever your niche is, there can be like some niches, but it has to relate to whatever that top niche is. So I completely agree. But let's get into tip number 2, which is framework. So a lot of people, when they're vlogging, they're literally just talking about anything, right? And they don't have any kind of structure or any organization. They think it's organic, and that works for some people. Again, like some people, when they first start out vlogging or daily vlogging, they don't realize, or the viewers don't realize, that there was a whole history before that, and this is why they have the audience. But when you're first starting out, framework is important. Like, you want to organize not only your thoughts, but even your video in a certain way. And this starts all from idea creation to recording and editing. Jeven, talk about why framework and storytelling is so important when it comes to vlogging.
Yeah, and I want to kind of touch on the, Casey Neistat effect as well. You got to also remember that some of these YouTubers that are huge now, YouTube was in a different state when they first started. So you got to remember that YouTube's continually evolving, and the audience is getting smarter, and the audience wants to connect more with a creator that is around a niche. So like if you had, if you're coming to me for filmmaking stuff, you wouldn't want to see other topics on my channel. Whereas maybe way back when, people could get away with doing a little bit more variety. Just want to touch on that real quick. But then when it comes to framework, this is super important. And this ties into what I was just saying, that the audience is getting smarter. And so if your content doesn't have a structure, then people are going to get, they're going to feel like something's off. It's inherent for us to feel storytelling. And this is something I really want to get across, is that storytelling is the most important thing that you can do when it comes to creating your content on YouTube. No matter what style of content you're creating, whether it's a tutorial or a vlog or how to or education, like there's so many different ways that we produce content. But if we inject the basic principles of storytelling into our videos, we're going to be able to captivate an audience, because storytelling is something that we all just inherently feel. Like, we know if a story's good. We can't necessarily say like, this is why the story's good, but we know when a story's good. And so structure is super important. And if you've never really dove into storytelling, I highly suggest really going into learning like a 3-act structure and learning how to use a hook, use a setup, use a re-engagement point, use a climax, so that there is a process in all your videos where someone starts, they get introduced to your content, they keep you re-engage them, you get them more excited, you set up what the climax is going to be, and then you have this payoff that is a resolution where someone feels satisfied with the content that you created, so that they want to come back, keep coming back and watching more. And this is, the basic underlying principle that makes really big YouTubers just take off, is they use this storytelling structure and this 3-act structure, and that's why they're doing so well. And you wouldn't know it until you start diving into it and looking for it.
For sure. And I know that one of the results of storytelling is high audience retention. It'll help keep people on your videos. And that's really important for the algorithm, because when you have high audience retention, your videos are going to get suggested more. They're going to show up in rank. So storytelling, I think this is something everybody can relate to. People have been telling stories for thousands of years. In fact, literally, anything good in life in terms of a lesson learned usually has a story attached to it. It's the difference between learning from a textbook versus learning from somebody sharing their experience on how they did it, because they're making it more practical. Anything you want to add in terms of audience retention, why that's so important, and how that relates to storytelling before we go to tip number 3?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up this one point. When it comes to storytelling, that's what drives audience retention. So that's how you're going to get people to stay on those higher percentages. When it comes to metrics, the things you want to look at are average view duration, but also average view percentage, and they're different. Like, you want to make sure that people are watching higher percentages of your videos. And to do that, you need to keep people watching through, and that comes from storytelling elements. Now, one thing I just wanted to mention, I have some of my data pulled up over here. I've been looking into this recently. So there's different audience retentions based on traffic sources. So I think what's really interesting is that when it comes to search versus suggested, I pretty much across my channel have a higher audience retention for suggested content. So when people are finding my channel based off of suggestions that YouTube gives, I have a higher audience retention. And this is why suggested is so powerful. You know, search is great. Search gets views, search brings you in, but you're going to get more of that retention. And once you can get more of that retention, then YouTube's going to suggest you more. And so one of my videos, why you will fail on YouTube, I'm getting an audience retention based off of suggested of 7 minutes and 30 seconds, whereas off of search, I'm getting 5 minutes and 50 seconds. And that's a pretty massive difference. And when you look at the percentage of people who are actually watching my views off of suggested, it's now up to 40% of all my views are suggested.
Boom. You guys, audience retention, really important. It triggers the algorithm. It suggests you to other people. If you're getting value out of this, hit that like button. Subscribe for more videos like this. We interview people just like Jeven every single Saturday morning. This is a VI show on video influencers. And we're going to be talking about the other tips on how to get views on your vlogs. You know, we're sharing our advice, our strategies. We'll be doing a Q&A a little bit later. So make sure you put your questions in the comments down below. We want to answer as many as possible afterwards. So tip number 3 is don't just wing it. So many people think that, and partly because we're telling you just to do it, right? Just to hit record. But there is a level of preparation, even just a mental preparation. Jeven, tell us what you mean by not winging it when creating content and specifically vlogging.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to flip on the camera and you're just going to start talking to camera. But once you get into the edit, you're going to be like, all right, so how does this all work? Like, why is this interesting for someone to watch? And it's not going to be. And unfortunately, a huge chunk of my library, the early vlogs, I just winged it. So I just turned on the camera and I was like, hey, we're going to go down to this beach. Hey, we're at this beach. Check it out. All right, so we're going to jump on this boat. Now we're on a boat. And like, basically what you're doing is just listing off a bunch of things that you've done in order, but there's no story. So this is why story structure is so important. So if I had approached one of my vlogs when I was doing travel vlogs and I was like, okay, the main climax of this is this special beach where they filmed this movie. Well, everything that I'm going to do to get to that beach is going to build up to this reveal or like the beauty of this beach or, whatever the climax is of my vlog. So I would tease it at the beginning and then I would talk about maybe why this beach is important. And then like having that structure, having that planning phase on the front end allows you to make videos that are super engaging that somebody actually wants to watch rather than just listing off a bunch of things that you've done. And don't worry, I've fallen victim and I've done that so many times, but I'm telling you right now, start looking at story and go pick up some books, go watch some videos. Story is super important.
Yeah, I love this about not winging it because, of course, when you think of vlogs, they're very casual, it's organic. However, there is a level of preparation mentally before you hit record because one of the downsides of winging it is sometimes you're just blabbering, you're just recording just whatever. And then when you go to edit, there's a ton of content. That's one of the hardest parts about editing is sifting through hours and hours of content. My wife and I, we vlog 5 days a week, and we've been doing this for about few years, and before that was 7 days a week for another like 4 to 5 years. So we've got a lot of experience, and even though we're talking about our whole day from the morning to nighttime, we do understand how important it is to think about what it is you're going to record in the sense of the editing bay. What is it going to look like when I put it into my software and I start clipping it all up? Because it's going to save you time. That's a more practical side. Anything else you want to add to this point of don't just wing it? Because I think it's one of my favorite tips of yours, because a lot of people, they would just wing it, thinking that's part of just hit record. But there's nothing wrong with really preparing yourself for what's about to happen so that you set yourself up for success, whether on the editing side or ultimately the final product.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there are times where you could just wing it, and there's times where you just need to create so that you can start getting in that creative mindset. So don't think that everything that you shoot is going to have to be published. Like if you just need to shoot to get your creative juices flowing, just wing it, go shoot something, and then come back and create a plan for what you're going to do for the rest of the video. So there is a lot of, there is something super important about just hitting record and just going for it, because as creators, we get stuck overthinking things. So sometimes, yes, you're going to wing it, but do it more for you and do it more to get like your creativity out and just try things, and then come back and create a plan and figure out, okay, now what does my audience want? And, you can't always set up everything, especially if you're like a reaction channel or something. But, you look at someone like Mr. Beast, he does a lot of reaction videos, but I guarantee all of his videos are super planned out so that when it comes time to get a reaction, they are able to, set up the situation in a way where all they do have to do is now hit record and capture that reaction that comes.
Awesome, awesome. And we're talking about how to vlog, our tips, tricks, and advice on how to actually get views on your uploads, because that's one of the biggest challenges of people just starting a YouTube channel. So hit that like button. If you are just new to vlogging, to YouTube, we're here for you, and we're talking with Jeven Dovey about that. The fourth tip that we want to talk about is set up the scene and reshoot. So a lot of people, they just think you can just shoot, from beginning to end, and that's it. That's how you vlog. But you can do more to give yourself better content. So talk about reshooting and setting up a scene and how that's going to help your vlog ultimately get more views on YouTube, Jeven.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're doing this planning phase and you're figuring out what you want to shoot, moving forward, and the reshooting comes in the fact that like you need to rethink what you're going to do, or you need to reshoot certain scenes so they fit into that structure. So once you have a structure, you'll know exactly, what moments you need to hit. And so, 99% of all content out there has some sort of planning phase put into it when it comes to like TVs and movies and all that. Like no one just wings it. So if you have your structure in place, then you need to know that you have like these 10 points that you need to hit throughout your video. Well, if you don't get it the first try, you go back and you reshoot it and you do it again and again. And when it comes to, say, your hook, that first section of your video, shoot like 4 different versions, or like try different things, reshoot it over and over, because when you get into the edit, you'll realize that like, oh, maybe this doesn't work with the rest of the content. I need to restructure it a little bit and use a different take or a completely different idea. So there's nothing wrong with reshooting scenes. And even if you're out vlogging and you're trying to make something organic and it doesn't quite hit, you can go back and reshoot it, because you know that you need this for the structure to work for the final edit.
Yeah, my wife and I, who are definitely much more casual types of vloggers, for something important, if we're going to introduce something or we're going to talk about what we're going to be doing for the next hour, and that's going to be a big part of that vlog, we definitely will reshoot a clip. And because there's nothing worse than getting through a whole day and you've got all this content for your vlog, and then bam, you go to edit and it's not usable, right? And there's nothing teeing up the content, and even setting up a scene. Like, this kind of goes back to your first tip about, I forget if it's your first tip, but mentally preparing for what you're about to shoot. If I'm going to be cooking, because we do a lot of cooking on our vlog channels, I will think about all the different angles I need. So sometimes it's a matter of getting the right equipment. So rather than in the middle of my recipe, grabbing the tripod, or, rarely do I have lights. I actually have Google Hue all over my house, so I can like control the lighting. But anything I need, even different tools, or even thinking about like other people that's going to be in this scene with me. I'm thinking about about that all before. And so I'm setting up the scene. And yeah, I definitely will reshoot something if I need to have a clean cut of it. So we're talking about how to vlog, what's worked for us. If you guys are getting value, let us know in the comments, and make sure you ask your question, because we're going to have a Q&A at the very end. Jeven, before we get into the last tip, anything else that you want to add here in terms of what we've been talking about before we get to the fifth tip on how to vlog?
Yeah, so when it comes to reshooting, like even when you get into the edit, you might find that something's not working right, and you'll go back and reshoot it. And I do this all the time where, you know, like something just didn't click right, or I didn't say it in the right way. And so I'll go out and reshoot a scene, a completely new scene, and then fit it in to make it match. And so, you know, the story and the flow of your video is the most important. So your audience won't realize if something is shot, you know, say all your footage is shot a week ago, but then you have this one scene that you need to reshoot. Well, reshoot it. If it fits into your vlog, it fits into your video, nobody's going to really notice because they're following your story.
Boom. You guys heard it. I'm excited for you to hear all of this and the final tip. We're talking about vlogging, and it's so important to realize that even though vlogging looks casual and organic on other people's channels, there's actual structure to it. There's a plan. There's a reason they get views. So the fifth tip that we have is keep people engaged. It's so important to keep people's attention, and keeping them engaged is how you do it. Why is this so important, especially for people just starting out, Jeven, when it comes to vlogging content?
It's audience retention. It comes down to everything that we've been talking about, which is keep the viewer engaged over the course of your whole video. You need to have that audience retention, and you're going to do that in different ways. But one of the big things that you need to remember is you need to edit your content down and take out anything that doesn't fit. So there's a lot of times where you'll shoot scenes, or, you know, you'll have this situation where it's so cool and you're like, man, this is amazing footage. But if it doesn't fit the video, you have to pull it out. There's no, like, something that takes a viewer in a completely different direction is going to do exactly that. It's going to take the viewer in a different direction. They're going to be like, huh, why am I watching this? I'm going to click off and watch this other video from this other creator who has structure from beginning to end. So you have to edit, and you have to cut down to just the story or just the things that matter. And when it comes to pacing, you want to keep your viewer engaged. And you'll see, you know, across my videos, I do a lot to keep the pace moving, especially when it comes to tutorials, because I've listened to my audience, and I've seen that if I cut out certain sections and I make the edit faster, that people stay longer in my videos. So I'm using my data to help drive editing choices. Now, everyone's channel is going to be a little bit different, and some people might relate more to a slower pace, and some people might want to see things play out in time a little bit slower. Or you might have an audience that's like David Dobrik's audience, that's like boom, 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 done.
Yeah,
you know,
ADD. Yeah,
it's like I can't tell you how to pace things, because everyone's audience is going to be completely different. And even in the filmmaking space, there's such a wide range of creators. Like, some of them do very slow, methodical reviews and tutorials, and they're great, and they have a high audience retention for those, but they have a certain audience. And then there's other ones who are like, boom, 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 let's just get through all the content and get as much as we can immediately. So it comes down to, you have to read your audience, try and experiment. I mean, that's what it comes down to with everything that we're talking about. You need to always just try and experiment, and then go to your data, look at audience retention, and see what's working for your videos.
Yeah, I think a great example of this is I can edit something for my wife for our vlog, right? Maybe it's 10 minutes long, and she goes to do the final edit. Not that this is a regular thing, but sometimes I will edit something for the vlog, and she can cut it in half, because she understands keeping people engaged, what is entertaining, what is boring. So what I thought was a dope 10 minutes was actually half boring, and she'll cut it down to 5 minutes. So the challenge I have for you, those of you who are vlogging or even just creating any type of content, Next time you go to edit and you're done with it, try to cut off 20 to 30%, maybe 50%, and only keep the things that are most relevant. Now, I agree. There's some channels that can keep people watching at a slower pace. They're drawn out. They're speaking more freely, more casually. It's not ADD style. But when you're first starting out and you want to get people's attention, remember, you're half delivering value and half convincing them that you're worth watching. And in this world of clicks and swiping through, it's important that you get right to the point right away. So this also helps for hooking people in, because if you take too long to get to the point, even as a vlogger, maybe especially as a vlogger, then you're going to lose people and you're not going to keep that engagement. So I completely agree. And I think this is a principle that applies to any videos, whether you're somebody that wants to vlog or be a talking head, educational channel, informative about keeping the engagement. And last thing I want to say in terms of data. So if you go to your audience retention, what you want to do is in that graph where you see a dip, wherever that dip is in that graph, that's what you want to delete next time. So I found that other creators who are really successful, they look at that religiously every time they upload. And when they see a dip in the audience retention, they look at whatever that is. Next time they go to upload a vlog, they don't even record that. They don't even make it part of their vlog because they already know their audience isn't interested in that. Anything you want to add to that, Jeven?
Yeah, I mean, that's a super powerful tip, is look at your audience retention graph and look where the dips are. I've noticed that I used to wrap up my videos for a whole minute and I would always have a massive drop off. And so as soon as I changed that, all of a sudden my audience percentage went through the roof. Like I was starting to get 50% on my videos versus, 35 or 40, So look for dips and see what you did at that moment, and then try to reverse engineer and be like, okay, so maybe it's the way I said something, or maybe it's the way that I went off topic. You can see that immediately just based off your data. Everything that you're doing when it comes to YouTube can have data. You can use your data to make decisions on how to do things moving forward. And that's the beauty of it. But also one of those things, you just have to put out videos. You have to keep creating content so you can get that data so you can make those decisions.
There you go. And we're going to put all of Jeven's links down below in the comments area or in the description area. We have one more bonus tip for you, and it's the power of collabs utilizing playlists. And I know this is something that you and I are actually exploring. We're kind of collabing right now, but talk about why this is your bonus tip and why this is so important for people that want to start vlogging and get views on their videos.
Yeah, so collabs obviously are super powerful, and just working with other creators, you're exposing yourself to another audience, and that you're giving that other creator exposure to your audience. But one thing that's really been super powerful for me, and something I've been playing around with and doing with different creators, is doing these series. So series are super important because if you can do like a 4-part series that it goes from video 1 to video 2 to video 3 to video 4, then your audience is going to watch one of the videos and then go through and watch all the videos because you've created this sequence. You've created these 4 videos. So your whole channel will get a nice little boost from that because people will be watching longer. They're going to be watching more of your videos. And the power of doing this with another creator is now you're taking 2 audiences and funneling them into this playlist. So I did this with Nick Nimmin recently. We did a series on how to get your first 1,000 subscribers. And it was a pretty powerful series that we did, but we did 4 videos, 2 on my channel, 2 on his channel, and we rotated. And we put all 4 of those videos into a playlist together so that when we push our audiences into that playlist, we're now going back and forth between both of our channels. And so both of us have seen a spike in growth because of that one playlist. So when you're doing collabs, don't always think just one video. Think, hey, can I do 2 videos out of this? Or could I do 4 that's in a sequence that we could start, building more momentum out of the series that we just created.
Yeah, I'm actually pulling it up right now. One of your collabs, not with Nick Nimmin, but with D Nimmin. Let me know if
Yep.
you can actually see it on your screen.
Yep.
But this is a collab you did on how to vlog with a phone, and of course, D. Niman, one of the go-to experts. Again, so this is your video on your channel, but you're collabing with him and cross-promoting. I completely agree that collabs are important, and a lot of people think that you have to be a big YouTuber to be able to do collabs with bigger YouTubers. I think what other creators want to see is they want to see that you're bringing value and a great idea. Now, don't get me wrong, you definitely want to have an influence. I'm sure by the time you collaborated with him, you had an influence, but correct me if I'm wrong, D. Niman has a smaller audience than you right now, currently. Talk about why it was that it made sense for you to collaborate with D. Niman in that playlist strategy.
Yeah. So my audience was asking for videos around smartphones and vlogging. And so D has his whole channel, which is around how to create YouTube content using smartphones. And so it worked well to work with him on a bunch of videos to talk about smartphone creation for YouTube, because I have people who are interested in that and he's the expert on that. So the idea when it comes to collabs is you want to work with people that are going to help enhance the videos that you're creating or be a second commentator on what you're creating. You don't want to just pick someone because they are a big creator. Like I wouldn't just go with some cooking channel and be like, hey, I'm going to go do this collab with this cooking channel because it has nothing to do with my audience and it's not going to resonate with the people on the other side of the camera. So I will collaborate with anyone, no matter what size channel, because if it fits within my niche and the content is going to help my audience. You always have to be thinking about who your viewer is and what do they care about. And if you can satisfy that, then everything will fall into place and you'll be able to, find a lot of success here on the platform.
Boom. Hey, you guys, you've been listening to Jeven Dovey, and we're going to be talking about actually answering some questions during the Q&A. If you're watching the replay, make sure you join the members club to get those replays exclusively. If you're on live here, we're going to answer in a second. But if you want to see our whole playlist on how to get views on your vlog, click or tap the screen right here. If you want to see Jeven's channel, you can go in the description box or click or tap the screen right here. As always, we're helping build your influence, income, and impact with online videos. I'll talk to you later.